Spelar hem återigen för Ljunggren. Lång boll där för Sonilsson att plocka ner. Ja, just det, Dagman som uppvaktar honom gör det förtjänstfullt också. Dagman byter för Hedlund då. Så Knut Asblet till en bra passning och då sitter den återigen med 3-0, 15-21. Han är tvåmålsskytt, Simon Karlsson.
Hi again everyone, back again with another video. Sorry about the hiatus or break on my part. I haven't gotten around to doing any analysis recently, but I will try to make the uploads a little bit more consistent if I can. I have been watching the SSL finals and playoffs. So today I'd just like to have a look at a video or a goal from those playoffs. It's a goal that was scored by Mullsjö, the dark team here in dark blue, against Dalen, the team in white. It's a great example of a well-executed counter-attack. Right now, the ball is about to be collected by this Dalen player here. It has just been thrown from a Dalen defenseman, a long overhead pass down into this corner. And Mullsjö, as you probably saw in the clip, they are attacking to the left of the screen here. So I'll let the video play through and we'll go into the analysis from there. Okay, so you can see that this blue player here has just won the ball after that battle in the corner. Once he wins the ball, he initiates the counter-attack straight away. He doesn't waste any time and he starts advancing the ball as quickly as he can. He probably doesn't know exactly what he's going to do with it or what the attack is going to look like, but to move the ball quickly out of his own zone and towards the opponent's net is a really good policy, because otherwise, if he hangs around where he is, he's probably just going to get into another battle with the person that he just won the ball from, this white player here. And on that counter attack, you can see that all 5 of the blue players have also started to join in. They are all moving towards the attacking zone. They've all started to run and run hard, and all of them look like they want the ball. They want to be involved in the play and to be a threat. And that's really good. You can see just by that there are no players there who consider themselves as just defensive players or just defensemen, and they'll leave the attack to someone else on the team who they think is more offensively minded. They are all willing to jump into the play and to go forward and attempt to score. And that's really what you want as a team. All 5 players being not only able but willing to both defend and attack. So here we can see that Mullsjö do a really good job of using the width of the court even at a very high speed of attack. This player here has just received the ball and he actually drives it wide out towards the boards, looking like he's going to have a shot. And you can see that this player over here is pretty much within a meter of the boards closest to the camera. So in doing that, it means that the defensive team have decisions to make about how far out of the middle they are going to come. Normally, when you're trying to stop a counter-attack, the defensive team generally want to come back towards their own net through the middle of the court so that they can control any counter-attacks that head directly towards their net. But in this scenario, it's a little bit harder for the defensive team because the blue team are carrying the ball wide. The white team have to make decisions as to whether they continue to control the middle and allow the counter-attack to progress on the outside, or do they commit one or more players to stopping the progression of the attack at the expense of having fewer players in the middle of the court. So it's a really nice example of using the width of the court at full speed. The next point I'd like to raise about the attack is this player here continues to drive the net the whole way through. They started all the way back in their own zone and they were the first player to get out of the zone, and they were the most advanced player on the court, and they continued that the whole way through. They just pretty much kept driving that middle lane of the court all the way through to the net. This is something that is always important, particularly on the counter attack. When there is a player going towards the net, it also creates some other questions for the defensive team. The first one is, does someone follow this player to the net, or do they allow that player to go to the net unmarked in order to continue to control the middle of the court at a distance from their net, so they keep a high defensive line and do not concede space to the ball carrier and other advancing attackers? Because ultimately, if you imagined that both players went with that player to the net, then you would see that they would have this area controlled really well, but the other two players on the counter attack would essentially be able to penetrate into this shooting area without anyone stopping them. So by sending a player to the net, the dark team make the white defensemen have to decide whether to stand their ground out here and stop other players from penetrating, or follow that player to the net and thus possibly concede ground to the other players in the counter attack. Because even if one player goes with this player here, it's then going to be a 2-on-1 against the remaining player. The last thing I'd like to point out about the attack is just the use of intelligent slowdowns by some of the blue players. The first one is by this player here. This player launched into the counter attack at full speed, and after a few steps realized that the best thing for them to do would be to slow down. This has a number of advantages. The first one is that it unblocks passing lanes. If this player did not slow down, it is likely that the pass across here would be blocked by him, and he probably would have tried to handle it, or maybe it would have just gone into his feet and the counterattack opportunity may have been lost. This player essentially stops so that that passing lane is open. Just have a look here. He comes to pretty much a complete stop, and that allows the ball to travel in front of him, and this player here picks it up on the other side of the court. The other benefit of this is that it is very responsible defensively. If for some reason the ball was lost in these moments here, essentially the white team would probably have an outnumbering situation on the re-attack or the counter attack back at the blue team's net. This player here has recognized this, and by stopping here, it means that if anything goes wrong, they are in a position to at least provide some defensive coverage rather than it being entirely on the goalkeeper's shoulders to do that. So it's really good awareness of the play to pull up defensively, because they realize that every other player on their team has momentum going away from their net, and if the ball is turned over, that's going to be disastrous. And there's one more slowdown that I'd just like to point out here, because it creates space again and unblocks passing lanes, and that's with this player here. As the play moves forward, the player with the ball over here, this player, and this player going to the net, these front three, they are still very much at full speed, or if not at full speed, they are still advancing up the court quite rapidly. This player here realizes this and slows their advance down as they move into the attacking zone. What this does is makes the defensive team again have to figure out who they have to take, and it creates a more even spacing between the attacking players. Again, if this guy had continued to run full speed into the attacking zone, he would probably be somewhere in this area here and would likely be in the way of this pass that's going to come across from here. By slowing down, it has opened this passing lane up and potentially put questions in the mind of this player here as to which player they should take. Should they stay with the player that is slowing down, or should they continue back into this area here, or potentially go to this other player out here? Thirdly, it provides this player the opportunity to join the attack after a short delay. Now, in this scenario, this player does not end up touching the ball again. However, by slowing down and allowing the defense to drift away from them, it allows the player to assess where the space is and potentially then drive into that space to be a threat once again. Lastly, I'd just like to point out that this player here who receives the ball and then drives it wide, he is actually a defenseman on the blue team. If we take it back, you can see that he actually starts here in front of the net and joins the attack and continues with the attack. I just wanted to point that out as it provides a sort of nice continuation of the point I made earlier about all 5 players being willing and able to join the attack, and you can see all 5 being willing and able to join the defense. Even players who are defensemen will sometimes end up in a counter-attack. They may even end up being the furthest player away from their net. And that's completely okay because it's what the game demands at that point in time. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'll just say a few quick things about the defense. The first thing is they did a really good job of working back into their own zone or back checking. You can see that all 5 players here have essentially worked all the way back into their zone, and they weren't punished because any one of them was lazy on the back check. And the last thing about the defense is I would just like to leave you with a question. What do you think they could have done differently? Should one of the players have stepped up to this player here? Potentially, should one of them have taken the player at the net? I'd like to know what you think, so please leave a comment with your answer or with your thoughts. And just in closing, please let me know what you think about the video, if there are any other goals that you'd like to see analyzed. But thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
Spelar hem återigen för Ljunggren. Lång boll där för Sonilsson att plocka ner. Ja, just det, Dagman som uppvaktar honom gör det förtjänstfullt också. Dagman byter för Hedlund då. Så knutas det till en bra passning och då sitter den återigen. Det 3-0, 15-21. Han är 2-målsskytt. Simon Karlsson.